Hi everyone, welcome to Robust QA. In this video, I'm going to go over all the essential features of Playwright using TypeScript. The reason I'm using the TypeScript is both of them, like Playwright and TypeScript, are maintained by Microsoft. So when they roll out the feature, first it goes out for TypeScript and then it rolls out for other language like Python and Java and other C Sharp and all other languages. Also, this series is going to be a two-part. So in the first part, I'm going to go over all the essential features. So it will help you to get acquainted with the Playwright. And in the second part, I'm going to optimize the code into the page object model because it's an industry standard and help to maintain your code. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into the video. So, okay, so for last couple of weeks, I've been practicing the Playwright, so I already have code here in my VS Code. Uh, so first step is about the installing the Playwright. So if you are new, you just have to open the VS Code and simply look out for the extension. So here and simply search for the Playwright. And the first one coming from Microsoft, you have to click on it and simply install it. Once you install it, you have to open the command palette, that's Control P, and here just search out for Playwright or arrow install Playwright. Yes, install Playwright. So first you download the Playwright from the extension, and the second is you install the Playwright. Once it is done, you already have the Playwright in your system. Now let's get started. So this video about installation and other videos, I would encourage you to just go and check this out. The video is pretty simple, how to install Playwright in your VS Code. Okay, so now let's quickly get started. So Playwright is the syntax of Playwright is somewhat similar to the other JavaScript based test automation framework like Protractor or WebDriver IO, right? It starts with the test and then you describe the name of the test and follows by the async function, and within that you write all these steps. Now you may ask, like, what's the difference between WebDriver IO and Cypress and other JavaScript test automation tool and the Playwright? So Playwright is, first of all, it's an open source. It has a tremendous support from Microsoft and the open source community. The third thing is it's really robust. Okay, it supports all the single page application and regular application. And in my personal opinion, Playwright is number one open source test automation framework right now out there. So, okay, so back to our test automation. So it start with the test. You just give the description of the test followed by the async function. Now, the way Playwright work is that you have to first instantiate the browser. So once you instantiate the browser, within the browser, you can have a separate context, right? So in other words, let's say you instantiate the browser, you can have individual context with the individual login. So if you log in one context, it will not, the cookies won't be shared in the another context. Okay, you get the separate context, so that way you can run multiple tests without to worry about the sharing of cookies and all. So it's really good for parallel testing. Okay, so here I'm using the Chromium and it is coming from Playwright test. So chromium.launch. Now we got the browser. Once we have a browser, your next step is to instantiate the context. We got the browser, now we want a context. So I would say browser dot new context. Now this returns the context. Now you have a context. Now every context has pages. So this will be context dot new page, and this returns the page. And on a particular page, now on this page, I am going to perform all the user actions, like go to particular URL, then hover and click and fill other actions. So these three you have to remember. So whenever you start, you have to first launch the browser and it returns the browser instance. And for the lifespan of a test, you don't have to instantiate another browser if you are planning to use the same browser for testing. You might need to instantiate new contexts because for the parallel testing or you just want to open a new tab and navigate to other URL and perform action that you don't want to share cookies between the two contexts, then you of course instantiate the new context. Okay, so go to is simply you go to this particular URL, hover, and you just hover to this locator. And another smart thing, if you have noticed, is that in Playwright you don't have to specify the locator type, unlike Selenium where you have to specify whether it's a CSS selector or XPath or so ID. You don't have to specify. Playwright is smart enough; it will understand the locator that you have provided. Okay, and it performs the fill. Fill is simply like send keys. You fill, you use the fill function, and first argument is nothing but the locator, and the second one is the string that you want to pass. And also another thing in Playwright is everything is string. You always have to pass as a string. You don't pass anything as a number. Uh, Even though the field requires number, you don't pass it as a number. You pass it as a string, and Playwright will pass a number in case if there is a number in your application. Okay, so yeah, so this is all about it. So this test is simply going to log in, and here I just open the new context. That means the new window, and the new context will have a new page, and I'm going to this URL and waiting for 5 seconds. Let's run this test and see what happens. So in the background, you will see what happens. It's went to this URL and it's hover, clicks, and then it's going to fill, click, and now new context, and it's going to the this URL. Now the cookies and session between these two contexts are not shared. Okay, pretty simple. So this is how you instantiate and perform all the actions. All right. Another cool feature is recorded test. Okay, so there are multiple recorders out there for multiple tools, like Selenium has Selenium ID. But in my personal opinion, Playwright's recorder is phenomenal. It finds the robust locators, and it's awesome. Let me show you how to do that. So in order to open the recorder, you have to use this command npx. That means np, not npm, in npx, because we want to open the executable file. Playwright, or not Playwright, but npx, yeah, Playwright, and code generation, right? And hit enter. This will bring up the two things. One is the window, one is the browser and the window. And when you perform the actions on, and here inside this window, it will write the test in a in your particular language. So test runner by default is the Playwright, but you can select any language you want, like PyTest or anything. But since we are using the Playwright, I mean, of course, Playwright test runner by default is picking up the um, TypeScript. Okay, so now let's see how it works. So here I'm simply going to go to the, for example, google.com, hit enter, and you will see await page.go to google.com, and just search out for anything, and you see how it just gives the locator name. You can use the Playwright's own locator name as well. Google search, and you will see how it used that particular locator. Okay, so yeah, since we didn't pass anything, it did not, nothing happened. But let's say I'm writing my name and hit enter, and you will see my name and my face. But anyways, the thing is, like, you can see how it's writing the steps. And also, since it is the async function, do not forget you have to use the await, because you want all these steps to perform synchronously one by one. If you don't use await, I'm telling you, you'll face the nightmare because it's hard to debug. So you don't want that. And I would always tell you that make sure you don't forget await keyword, especially if you're coming from different programming language. So async and await. Okay. So this is cool feature. Usually I would just do clicking and other actions and just copy all the locators and use it. Instead of finding it, you can use this locator. They are pretty robust. I'm confident in all these locators. All right, so that was about the recorded test. You can use it like I have used it. So this was the totally recorded test. Let me run it, and you'll see in action that there's no difference. It performs all the particular action. Sometimes it may not record like hover actions or other actions, but that's totally fine. You can manually add those action in your recorded test. Perfect. It's performing all these steps in the background, run everything, and your test. Of course, it failed because it might not found the URL that it was expecting, but that's totally fine. The third thing is what is else? What else? Yeah, JavaScript alert. Now this is a really interesting topic because let me before I start explanation, let me show you what I mean. Um, okay, so here in this URL, this is the JavaScript alert. When I click on it, you see this model pop-up. This is called a JavaScript alert. There are type of alert like Bootstrap alert. We have a new Windows, but these are the particular JavaScript alert. You might encounter this kind of alert in your application, right? How do you handle this kind of alert? Because these are different. You cannot inspect the model. And how do you click on the OK? It's pretty simple and straightforward. However, little twisted, but trust me, it's the same process for all the JavaScript alert. So once you know this, you can follow the same steps for any other JavaScript alert. So first thing ever is that you, of course, you go to this particular URL and you might ask, hey, what is this page.on dialog? So the way this work is when your code come here like await page.goto, the second step it would first instantly go to this step. So what this step does is like it's going to click on that button, like click me. If you notice, it was the button, it's going to click me. And sorry, and as soon as it clicks to that button, now your code won't go down, but instead it will go to the page.on. So I know it's pretty weird, especially if you are coming from the different programming language. It's not going from step one to step two, step three, but instead it's going to step one and then it's going to the step three, and it's coming back to the step two. And you might notice that it's not await because we don't want to go it as a step one, two, three. We want to be step one, step three, and then step two. As soon as I click on this button, the new model opens, right? So I'm going to use this function or method page.on. Now this is coming from node.js. So it's kind of similar to any node program. Okay, so we are using page.on, and on is what dialog. This is the dialog. It's called a dialog. So remember, the JavaScript pop-up is a dialog. So page.on dialog and followed by async. This could be anything, any variable name. In this case, I'm giving it alert, and now await alert dot accept. So first thing, you click on it. Second thing, you come here and you accept the alert, and that's all. That's all. Yeah. So that's how I did here. So click on the button, and then as soon as you click on the button, it jumps to this step, and notice there is no await here. So it's page dot on, and this is of course a dialog, and page alert dot accept, and you console the log. Same here, you go to this URL. You second step is make sure it's not await. Third thing is you click here, and as soon as the JavaScript model pops up, you are going to handle using page.on dialog followed by async alert and whatever action you want to do, accept, dismiss. Of course there are two actions, accept and dismiss, right? So yeah, this is a particular test. I find it interesting because this was something new for me, because I've experience using Python, and this was I had to do little research, but it's all cool. You click on it, you get that model, JavaScript model, and you traverse upwards. So page.on dialog, you do whatever you want, like accept. In this particular alert, let's go to this particular alert. In this alert, it asks for you to write an string, right? So it asks you to write a string, and then it just spit out the whatever string that you have written. So that's how you do it. It's simply page dot where to go. Yeah, alert dot accept, and just simply pass the string that you want to test. Yeah, pretty simple. Run the test. You might not see the alert because it runs on. Yeah, you did see. Okay, yep, you did see the alert. So yeah, so JavaScript alert is handled by page dot on function of Node.js. Yeah, remember this. All right, so now we have what? Okay, let's go with. Okay, I would say let's go now step by step. Bootstrap model dot test. Now, what's the bootstrap? So, bootstrap is very simple. You simply go to the particular URL and then you click on a model, and it's pretty simple. It's nothing is way simple than yeah. So it just launches the model, and you just click on the model. So you don't have to do any extra step. Sometimes engineers forget and try page.on and it doesn't work because only JavaScript models can be handled using that page.on method, but not the bootstrap. Okay, it's simple. The date picker, this is wonderful. So date picker, it's pretty common in most of the application. So here I'm using one more external package called Movement. So I will go to the package and you might see I'm using the Movement. So the way it works is movement is just simply you just pass the date found and just tell it in the format, and then you can use the movement's own functions like whether it's a before or it's after, and based on that you can click previous or after button on the model. So let me run this and you will notice how it goes. Yeah. So this is date picker, and it might be a December or something. So this is how it travels and it goes. Uh, yeah, pretty simple. It's very simple. I am going to share the GitHub link for this code to this code so you can check this out. Simply, it's like I have found the previous button, next button, and then the whatever date found here, and then want to select date. This is the date I want to select, and I'm using the moment package that I have installed in for this dependency, dev dependency, and then within that it's a date found, and this is the format of the date that is we found and want to select is this is the date we want to select. So I'm going to use this variable and the format of this date. Okay, now I'm going to use while loop. My button, that button text content is not equal to want to select date, then I'm using that date found is before this, and if it returns the true, then it's going to click. If it returns false, then it's going to click on the previous button. Yeah, you can do some research on this code. It's simple, trust me. Then we have a drop down. This is cool because let's see how to handle the drop down. So the way this works is that Playwright uses the select option function or method to do the drop down. So whenever you come across the element that has a tag name select, of course it is a drop down. So the way it works is you use the select option, and the first argument you pass is the locator of that drop down, and the second argument is value is Monday. Now it uses the three, or you can pass the three values here. So value is either value is Monday, or you can also pass label is Tuesday, or you can pass the index. Okay, usually stick to the value and index. You may not want to use label, but you can do either way. So let me run this and you will notice that how it works. Yeah, here it opens the select, yeah, Monday, and then it's going to select Tuesday, and then it's going to select based on the index. Perfect. Now there might be a drop down with multiple options. So you may have to select the multiple options. You get the list of the drop down and you want to select the multiple options. So you can do the same function or same method. Select option. First argument is the selector of that drop down, and the second argument is the area of the objects. So first object would be label California, label Florida, and value Ohio. So let me first go to this URL and let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so here, this is the one I'm talking about, multi-select option. And you notice this is the multi-select, right? So it is the select, and now option and value. So when we find the value using the value attribute, is targeting this, and when it is label, this is the label. Okay, so we can find either using value attribute or either label attribute or simply using the index. So that's what I'm doing. Label and value, right? So yeah, label value, value label. Okay, and with the index. Okay, all looks good. Let me run this, and you will notice that it's going to select the multiple options this time. Yep, it select the multiple options, and all good. Now select jQuery drop down. Okay, so yeah, it's the same. Only difference is I have created the function within the test function, and I'm using that function to select the options like this, like Australia, India, or whatever. But in the background, it's just simply using the locator where it takes the arguments value and pass it in the locator. No big deal, but just an idea that you can also create a function to avoid repeating your code. Okay. All right. All good. Drop down now. What is this example? Okay. This is just simply an example. I will go to expect page to. Yeah. Also, it uses the expect. So this is for the assertion, and also Playwright and TypeScript support the soft assertion. So in other words, you can use multiple expect in the same test, and it will work without stopping at the first expect failure. Okay, so yeah, it's pretty simple. So not going to go frames and window handles. Yeah, this is also super helpful. You will come across the test where you have to handle multiple frames or multiple windows, right? So let's see how to handle it. So the way this works is that let's first go to this URL. Let me go to this URL. Okay, so now we have a follow both. Okay, now let's see what is follow both. We have this follow both. Yeah, follow. Yeah. So when I click on this button, you will see two model will appear. Two model will pop up. I'm going to always allow. So see two model appeared. Now you want to handle these pop-ups and want to perform the actions. Now the thing is, it's a two different context, right? So this is context one, context two, context three. So now let's see how to handle this, okay, and perform actions on particular window. First step is I'm going to go to this URL. The second one would be I'm going to now, yeah, so this is the promise.all. So whenever you come across scenario like this where multiple actions happen at a time, you have to handle it using the promise. So I would suggest or encourage you to read about the promise, what's promise in JavaScript. So promise dot all, and within that I'm going to pass the array of actions. Remember, it's an array, so you don't have to do like this. Okay, you have to separate it using comma, not inverted or semicolon. So yeah, so and it traverse upward, not downward, upward. So promise dot all. First thing I'm going to click on the follow both, and Now wait for the event. What's the event? Event is the pop-up. Event is the pop-up. Remember this. So I'm going to click on the follow both, and I'm going to wait for the event pop-up. And the this is also important. So whenever you navigate, I would suggest that you always use wait for a load state. Okay, before you perform any actions, you want to wait for that page to load. So page dot click, then you wait for a pop-up. Once you have a pop-up, you are going to wait for both the pop-ups to load. Once they are load, we want the context, right? Now we there are three contexts, and we want those contexts. As I said earlier, you just instantiate browser just one time, but you instantiate contexts multiple times, right? So in this case, there are already three contexts, so we want it. So once you do promise dot all, it returns the array, and this is the array. So this is called destructuring. So I'm going to handle it within the array. So I am going to use multi-page. If I don't do this like this, if I just simply use multi-page, so this is an array. So I have to do like this, multi-page of 0, and I'm going to get the context, and within the context I'm going to do pages, right? So now I got the pages. Now let index is number, Facebook page, and Twitter page. I'm just uh, declaring the variables. Okay, so now when index is 0, index is less than page dot length, index plus plus. Now pages dot index dot URL include Twitter. Then we got the this is the Twitter page. Else it's a Facebook page. So Facebook URL is the Facebook page URL and Twitter page URL. So since it opened the three pages, okay, so it opened the three pages, we have to handle the pages and perform the action. So again, we click on it, and once you click on that button, we were waiting for the pop-up. Once we got the pop-up, there were three different pages, or yeah, three different pages. Now we want to know the pages, and the in order to get the info of the pages, we have to have a context, right? So we have a multi-page. Now this multi-page, we are going to have the context, and for all the context we are going to have the pages. Now we stored the pages, and we are just going to iterate over all the pages to get the URLs. Okay, I would suggest you to go over this code. It's kind of a little different than the regular one, but we just simply handle the promise. And once we got the promise, we are just going to dissect all the context. And within all the context, we have pages. So we are going to dissect the pages. And this is the dissect code. And every page, we are going to perform the actions. Now, here is the code run. So it just clicks, opens the two different pop-ups, and just it's just pause. It's just console.log does the console log. You may not see here because I'm running it from here. Let's see how to run it from terminal. Code run from terminal. I'm going to go to the playwright.config.tst, and here you see it's a test. So I'm going to use the test match. Already I have it here, and this is going to be the frames and window handles. So I'm going to copy. This is within the test folder. I don't need all this backslash. It's going to remove it, and it's set up now. So I'm going to use npx playwright test. This is going to run this particular test. So it ran all the three tests. Okay, so here is the thing. Facebook URL is this, and Twitter URL is this. So this is how you run the test from your terminal as well. Another important thing I just completely forgot was about the page. So you might have noticed that in our first test we were using using the three steps to instantiate the pages. But now in the further videos, further test, we are not doing that. You know why? Because we are directly using the page. So this is called fixture. and it is coming from the playwright test. It's coming from playwright test. So we are importing the fixture test expect and using this fixture here. Okay, page. I'm sorry, it's not here, but it's under the test. So it's under the hood, but you can use page like this. Okay, you can directly use it. It's a fixture. Just think of this way. It's a fixture. But if you don't import the test, then you will see it won't actually show up. So you have to import the test in order to use the page fixture, and all those steps, all the three steps happens in the background, and we can use the directly page fixture here. So yeah, so now we have a simple form demo, nothing really complex here. It's just simply a form demo performing click actions and all other actions, nothing different. So yeah, one more thing I want to show you is the expect documentation, like assertion in Playwright, and this will take you to the assertion part of the documentation, and you can see all the assertions here. Okay, okay, let's go back. Yeah, other thing, what else? Yeah, another thing is this negate. Okay, so the way this work is, like, sometimes you want to perform the negate actions. Like, for example, I want to assert that this particular checkbox is not checked, right? So expect checkbox 1 to be checked, but instead I'm going to use not. So you can also use the negate action or keyword to negate the assertion. Okay. Yeah, last thing, but very important thing, upload and download. So this is also pretty frequent scenario that you come across. Download, yeah. So okay, first let's go to this URL before I explain anything. Okay, let's go to this particular URL. Yeah, so this is the URL. And the way this work is, when you type something, you click on generate file and you download. It's going to download Lambda info text. And when you open it, it is whatever you typed. Okay, it's simply that simple. Now, when you download, it's downloads here. So let's see how to handle this. Way this work is, you go to this URL, you type whatever you want, like Abhishek is testing Playwright inside that particular box using type. So type is similar to the fill, but fill is like simply it just put the text and just extract the text and put it inside the text area. But type is like user action. It literally types one string at a time, or one word at a, or one character at a time. And then once it types, you click on the create, right? When you click on the create, sorry, not this one, you click on the create or generate file. Okay, once you generate the file, you you have to use the promise.all. So you click on the download and wait for the event download, because now you remember that once you download happens, and it's outside of the browser, right? So it's in your system, so you cannot inspect it. So you have to wait for event called download. Okay, so you click on it, you wait for event called download, and once the download, you can use this variable like download 0 dot suggested file name, whatever the name by default it has. And then once you get it, you want to save it. So in this case, it's a download. So when it is download, it's folder here somewhere. So let's find that one. Download. Yeah, it's here. Lambda test info text, right? So let me just delete this first of all. Okay, so it's going to do download, and then I'm using the string lateral. So if you don't know, string lateral is simply f string equivalent in a Python. All right, so it's not showing up play icon, and the reason is because I configured here. So let me just comment this out for now, and let me go back to upload download, and you will see it's back now. Right, let's run and you will see what happens. So open, it's going to type, generate, wait for the event download, gets its name, and then it saves to the particular location. Test passed. And now let's go to the download, and yep, it passed. And it just downloaded the file. Okay. Now another one is about the upload. So upload happens in a two different fashion. So let's go to this particular URL. Let me go to this URL, hit enter. And the way this works is when I click on the add file, it opens this model. And in Playwright, it is called file chooser. So you are going to wait for this file chooser to appear. And then you're going to pass the file that you want to upload. Okay. All right. Let me close this one first. Okay. So yeah, so the way this work is we are going to go to this URL and promise.all. How this works, we are going to click on this particular button, the green button that you saw, this particular button. We are going to click on this button. And as soon as you click on that button, we are waiting for file chooser. And once you have file chooser, we are going to use the upload file of 0 because it's a promise. And then we have this particular method called set function, right? For downloaded, we had suggested name and save as. Similar for the upload, we have set files, and we are going to set the files. Now you may ask, like, how come you know that it accept the array of files? That means it's a multiple. How do you know that you can upload multiple files? And the way to know is, once you get the promise here, there is a function called is multiple. Yeah. So this is the function. Don't forget the of it. So this function is going to return you whether it's a true or false. So if it is true, then you can upload the multiple file. If not, then you cannot. Instead, you can upload only one file at a time. I already know it's a multiple, so I'm not going to wrap around if else. But in your case, you can also wrap around if else. So it's pretty fast, and you see two of the image got uploaded. And it got uploaded from my uploaded this tiger and lion images. Yep, that's pretty much it. And also now let's look at all the package.json, other JSON files. Okay, so we have a playwright.config.ts. What is this playwright.config.ts? This is the playwright config file where you just give all the configuration. So test dir is simply where your test lies. So you have to specify that it's dot test, right? It's the dot test, and all of them are the test. And then we can use the use within use. We can have a base URL, so you don't have to pass the base URL everywhere. You can just pass it here and use the base URL as a fixture. Okay, I will cover that in the next part of this video series. It's only going to be two part. And also then we have a headless false. So if you do headless true, then you won't see all the or the browser. You won't see all the browser. And then we have screenshot on. So that means when the report is generated, we will see a screenshot on every step. It also has a video feature, which is phenomenal. You don't have to use any third party library. Simply you specify this line video written on failure. So whenever test fails, it will record the video. And then we have a launch option slow mo 1000. That means I am using the 1000. That means it's 1000 milliseconds slow. Every step is taking 1 second at a time. And the reason is because I want to demonstrate. But for you, you can remove it and it will run very fast. Also, you can turn this headless to true and it won't show any headless. Okay, so whenever you run the test, you can specify the reporter. So here reporter is dot, and I'm using the HTML, and HTML this array. So reporter takes the array. So I'm using the dot. Dot means when you run your test from the terminal, it shows you the dot. So dot 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 means all of them passed, and if it fails, it will just show the character F in a red color. So that means that particular test failed. And then we have HTML, that's one, and then the second argument in this list is whether it's open, never. So I'm not going to open every time the test run. But once you run the test, your report will be stored inside the Playwright report. So index.html is the generic name for your report. Okay, so I am going to open this, and let me first open this in a. No, I don't want to open it in a terminal. Instead, I want to open in a file explorer, Playwright report, and index.html. So this was the last test upload file using file chooser. So you notice that it just took the screenshot, and since this test was limited to the single page, it just screenshot the single page. Okay, and if you want to see the video, now let's see the video. um, for the video I have options like only on the failure, but change it let me change it, and I'll just press control space, and it will show you all the options that it takes. I'm going to type the on, and now let me run the test, and this time you will see both screenshot and video. It's not recommended to take video on every test case because it will bump up the size of your report and it's hard to send the report. All right, so it's already open. Okay, it's already open. Now I'm going to open this, and this time video is here, and you will see what happens. So it just clicks on the add files, and it uploaded a couple of files. All right, so yeah, I would encourage just use the video on the test failure. Don't do it every time. Okay, this is pretty cool. So in the next video, I will cover page object model and also some more advanced topic like how to run tests from the terminals. Okay. Other thing I want to talk about is the package.json. So whenever you install anything, it goes here. So also you can define user defined custom test script. So npx playwright test, I am just assigning it to the test variable. So I don't have to write npx playwright test this now. Instead, I can use node package manager and simply the variable name that I've assigned test and hit enter. And in you see under the hood it's just using the npx playwright test. So you can have multiple commands like npx playwright test and whatever test you are targeting to. Okay. Yep, that's pretty much it. I hope you find this video useful. I'm going to give you the link for the GitHub for this code. If you have any questions, just let me know. See you in the next video where I will talk more advanced features like page object model, how to run testing from the terminal, and a lot more other things. Thank you very much, guys. See you in the next video. Bye.